Hi everyone, I'll be talking about Monica Geller. My name is Riley Mackey. I chose Monica for this project just because I have seen all the seasons and I feel like this would be a very interesting kind of approach because we do see flashbacks from childhood and her personality. I feel like I could really look at and kind of see this as a psychological analysis of her personality and her traits and kind of what she went through development. First, we have a overview kind of summary of who Monica was in relation to this presentation. She grew up in a family consisting of her mother, father, and her brother Ross. And one of these major facts that was presented throughout the show and the flashbacks and present time was that Monica was favorited. Monica was the unfavored child while Ross was the favorited child. So she was favorited, Ross was favorited over her by her parents. And although Ross was favorited, Monica and him still had this close relationship, which is going to be talked about again in Optimal Development. Where was I? Oh, and discussing Monica's personality, it can be described as competitive, bossy, and have an obsession over cleanliness and tidiness. And then we also discuss how she is constantly striving for perfection and needs this kind of validation from others rather than herself. So theory 1, we'll be talking about the psychosocial theory that by Erik Erikson that Monica kind of goes along with and can connect with. A review of this theory is that it's based off Sigmund Freud. I can't remember how to say his last name correctly, but his personality, theory of personality. So he kind of, Erikson expanded over these inner dynamics of personality. We have the id, which is the selfish, I think it's id or id. I can't remember exactly, but this is the selfish and irrational part of the personality that seeks to gratify the individual's needs. The ego is more this rational problem solving. So I like to think of as the good middle ground, and then the superego is the person's standards and morals, what's right or wrong. And I always like to think of it like the devil and the angel and the shoulders analysis. The id is this devil that's selfish, wants to do what the individual wants rather than with the superego, the angel is saying, hey, this is wrong. We have these standards, morals, and the ego is kind of the person in the middle, the mix of the two. One other key essential points for the Monica's application is that there's always potential for change in personality, and we kind of discuss directly the second stage because he has multiple stages that he presents. The anatomy versus shame and doubt, and how toddlers will kind of learn to do things themselves or due to their parents or their surroundings, and they will begin to doubt their abilities if they can't do these things themselves. So for our first application of that theory, I kind of connected it to how she is so neat and clean and has a strict order. She uses her cleaning as a coping mechanism for stressful situations when something goes wrong, stressful happens, all the things. So basically her rational ego sees these stressful situations and kind of problem solves hey, this is a healthier way to do it, kind of by tidying up and cleaning her apartment. And then over time, due to it just being a coping mechanism, she naturally just began to enjoy doing this because she constantly did it. And we can connect this direct cleanliness and tidiness to Erikson's theory, which is anatomy versus shame and doubt. So probably when she was younger, there was a mess and her parents would most likely show disappointment. There was a mess, they're disappointed, and it kind of made her shameful and wanted to keep everything clean and wanted to clean naturally. And I think that can also be tied to her parents' favoritism as well. An example would be when Chandler and Monica came home one day to find their apartment cleaned, and none of them cleaned, neither of them. So Chandler was like, yeah, I hired a maid, and Monica didn't like that. It made her very anxious just because it wasn't done by her. She has a set order that everything kind of goes by, and she didn't know what the person used. There was just a lot of things making her anxious, and she said she didn't know what to do because usually when she is this anxious, she will clean, but she doesn't have anything clean because it's cleaned by a man. I have another application connection just in relation to the psychosocial theory. Monica, again, is extremely competitive. She hates losing anything. So her selfish-eyed part of her personality will definitely show during this time because she feels the need to win. She wants to win, and she'll be upset if she doesn't win, no matter what it is. And one time, her reaction of not getting her way is obviously irrational because of this. And we'll see that in the example in the next slide, but her super ego is still present though, because as she follows the rules, as she plays the game, she'll always follow these rules and the guidelines for the competition. She's like, they're set into place. She won't cheat to win just because she wants to win. And then, an example found within the show is kind of this discussion, not them actually showing it, but they had a discussion about how she lost a Pictionary game through a plate, and it was kind of brought up. And then she was telling everyone, like, there's set rules. Everyone needs to follow those rules to make sure everyone's having fun. The second theory I will be talking about is the attachment theory by John Bowlby, I believe is how you say his last name. So, kind of a review is kind of about ethology, which is the study of behavior of various species in their natural environments and the evolution of that behavior. And he kind of says, attachment is this kind of tie between a person and another companion. And one of the major theories that I want to discuss is that insecurely attached infants subjected to insensitive, neglectful, or abusive care many will become difficult to love and ultimately carry this into their future relationships. However, we can see this limitation in Monica because even though she grew up as the least favorite child, we kind of see, I'll talk a little bit more about that in an example, but she kind of was always the least favorite child. And usually, parental favoritism creates an insecure attachment. And it will kind of be a difficult Monica, as we discussed for this theory, that Monica would be difficult to love and have a hard time with relationships. However, this doesn't happen in the show. And when we talk about our example, throughout the show, she's always wanted to find the one, and she had a lot of relationships, and she wanted children, she wanted this family, and even though she had so many relationships, she was always overly involved, if anything, and held this strong attachment to her partners. And this can also be shown when she gets married to Chandler Bing, because Chandler was also a main character. We kind of see both, and you can kind of see her attachment, and she's attached and not having a hard time in the relationship. She's emotionally there. So when we're talking about optimal development, first we'll be talking about what led to a problem or dysfunction throughout Monica's development. So I really want to talk about Monica's need for validation. Monica was just constantly wanting to get this validation from others throughout the entire show, and I believe to avoid this issue, it could have been better for her parents to have a more healthy and supportive relationship, as again, she's an unfavored child, and it would have allowed her to feel less pressure to gain this tension and validation and connection with other people because her parents' lack of confidence in her. So if we were talking about present day, she's the issues there that she needs has to strive for validation from others. She can address and help this issue later in life by having an open communication and conversation with the individuals that she seeks validation from the most. That's really important, because you kind of get to discuss with the actual individual she's seeking this validation for, and kind of explaining, seeing both sides, she can also focus and self-reflect, and instead of focusing on her growth from the eyes of others, she can look at personal growth and what she wants rather than what other people want from her. Next, I will be talking about optimal development again, but what in her development led to a healthy habit in a situation in her life. So, again, Monica and Ross always had a very close relationship. They were, they're siblings, if you did not know that. But, oh yeah, her brother Ross, I didn't realize it said that on the page. But Ross was the favorite child, and oftentimes when there's a favorite child and an unfavorite child, the unfavored child will kind of push this anger and jealousy towards the favorite child, and it creates like an unstable and unhealthy relationship. But this didn't happen with Monica and Ross, and they're always having this close relationship throughout the show, and it's very important because it kind of gives Ross and Monica this emotional support and guidance with someone who truly knows them because they grew up together. They've always been this close, and it is really helpful. That is it for my presentation. If you guys have any comments or questions, please reply to me. I will also be leaving the slideshow PDF if you need to go back and look at anything. Thank you for watching.